much nicer than my Civic with a J. And much slower than my CRX with a J. Welcome to another episode of VTEC Academy. You're about to get schooled. Let's go take a look at this car over here.
Yeah,
J Swapped Civic, or I'm Civic. J Swapped NSX. This is the swap. As you can see, it really looks like it belongs in here. I mean, obviously it doesn't have the same look as the C motor, but it looks totally at home in here.
Thank you.
So let's talk about a little bit what you did in order to make this happen.
So I reused the stock NSX mounts. Mm-hmm. The transmission mounts remain the same. I made an adapter for the front mount to use the stock NSX mount, front mount, and the stock NSX passenger side mount with another adapter onto the J block. There's an adapter for the, since we're running the stock NSX transmission, the intermediate shaft has another adapter to hold that in the stock place.
All right, what about hooking up the water, the cooling for both the heater and for the radiator? Yeah,
so the coolant lines for the J obviously come off the other side, but the coolant line, the heater, it was piped the same, and the radiator was all hooked up the same. I have different radiator hoses, and
were you able? It's like me. I'll bend a piece of wire in the shape I need and walk down to Napa or wherever, and I'll say, I need 1.25 inches that's shaped like this, and they'll go, go look in the back, and then I'll just look in, usually wind up cutting a section of hose in order to make it.
I did. My first ones were pretty cobbled together, and then Napa helped me out, and they actually have a book that tells you which ones have what opening on which end, because the NSX opening is the radiator hose is larger than the
like
J,
1.5 inches.
so it has to drop down to 1.25 inches. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Same with the coolant lines or the heater hose and the overflow tank. Yeah, and then I had custom running the J alternator and AC compressor, and then I had custom AC lines to hook up the J AC compressor.
And you have custom headers available for the swap, right?
I have custom headers that build that will run the exhaust from the J and terminate it just like a 97, 99 NSX.
Very cool. Is there a flywheel space or anything like that adapts the one transmission, this block to that transmission?
No, it turns out the J series and some of the early Gen 1 J series motors share the same bell housing pattern as the NSX transmission did, and the NSX flywheel, just taking out the pilot bearing, and it'll bolt up to the J crank.
Very good. Oh, you're running the stock ECU, and which is fantastic. If you want to do
J
boost,
series,
stock
ECU.
J series.
Yeah,
it was stock for this engine.
So, yeah.
And then, but when you go boost, you're going to wind up running, you think possibly an AEM or something?
Yeah, I have the AEM J Swap ECU that they make for it, and then you can go turbo, forced induction, anything you want.
All right, how's my hair look?
Yeah, good. So we're going to take it for a quick drive and see what a J Swapped NSX is like. Now, you have a first gen NSX.
I sure do.
Yeah, so I wanted you to drive because it's going to be a comparison for you. Whereas me, I wouldn't know it from anything. I would say, yes, it's much nicer than my Civic with a J. And much slower than my CRX with a J.
It's fine. Well, depending on what you're doing with it, it's probably not much slower than the CRX.
True.
Probably handles a little bit better, definitely better balance.
Balance can be an issue with a J.
We'll go nice and slow down this dirt road.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Especially with sticky tires.
Nothing like the sound of gravel inside your fenders.
What I will say is that it's got really incredible manners to just be able to kind of
putz around like this.
Yeah. You know, just second gear, cruising. We don't have a speedo signal, but just cruising whatever speed. I think just once you get to a certain spot, because the speedo was working for a minute. Yeah, there it is. But yeah, it seems to have really incredible manners, especially considering you said it had a dual twin disc clutch.
Wow.
Like an aftermarket twin disc clutch.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a big fan of the dual mass clutch that they normally put in these things, you know, with the J, but and obviously if you're going to track your NSX, you want something that's a little bit more robust than a stock clutch.
Right. It definitely puts a lot of abuse through it. Yeah, just for putzing around, it's pretty nice.
I love the sound of a J. Now, is the engine note much different than the C?
It doesn't seem all that much different. Like he's definitely got, I think he's got a Comtech, like an older Comtech exhaust. And he mentioned that he had just put like kind of either catless or high flow cats on it that were kind of trickling with some stuff, and it seems to sound pretty good. Let's maybe roll the windows.
I think you're right though, really well behaved.
Yeah.
It's got working AC and everything.
Yeah, that's incredible. Once we get
drives
onto the
just
highway.
like any NSX I've ever been in.
Yeah, it drives really, really nice. Shifts great. You just feel like you're at home. Like, I mean, gosh, anytime you're in one of these cars, like, you're just like, the car is wrapped around you. You have high visibility everywhere. Do you know what the weight difference is between the two engines, Brian?
I think they're pretty close to the same. I think that the C obviously is a little bit heavier because of the head, everything in the head.
Yeah, that's what I would think, is that it would be a little lighter. Oh yeah, it drives so good. Yeah, I would say that it sounds very, very similar. Like, just that nice V6 growl.
The growl. Yeah, so I measured them, and I seem to recall the C being about 50 to 75 pounds heavier.
Oh wow!
So, but that was comparing them with the C transmission and the J on the C and a J transmission on the J. So I don't know if there's a difference in the transmission weight.
Gotcha.
So some of it may be there, but this car uses stock mounts with just some adapters, so it just feels absolutely smooth as a C would, and the acceleration seems completely on par to me.
Yep.
So a J Swapped NSX is pretty cool.
It's a little slower than mine because mine's supercharged. But.
Yours is supercharged.
The VTEC is definitely a lot more aggressive.
Oh, is it? That's good.
So.
And he's running on a stock computer.
But
awesome. What he's done to this motor is he has
different cams. Like
he has
different J series cams.
Right. He has some J series pistons from a Type S J32, I think, from the CL Type S, and he has the J series cams from the pistons and cams from the CL Type S. So that probably helps.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
A really potent engine.
Yeah, I actually have at my shop a CL Type S engine that I was saving for my 05 Civic, and now I'm thinking I might need to take those cams and pistons and stick them on another engine and do something with it. So
it definitely, it seems just super well mannered and streetable. Like yeah, it's just awesome. All the gauges are functioning, like oil pressure, water temp, obviously fuel and battery. Like
a totally viable engine swap for this particular vehicle. I think it works really well. Got good torque.
Yeah, it's got great torque.
Yeah.
And like he mentioned, from a maintenance standpoint, you can adjust the valves and do all the things without having to be a yoga instructor.
Or drop the motor.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Would it be cheaper to just buy another used engine and swap it out than it would be to take your NSX and have somebody do the valve adjustment, timing belt, and water pump?
I don't know. Right? You almost want to just do this one.
Yeah. I say this is actually a nice swap. So if you've got an NSX and you're looking to save your engine, put it on a shelf and throw one of these J's in there.
Yeah. And you can just put a ton of miles on it and not have to worry about it.
Not worry. You could turbocharge it and not worry.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Or
Yeah.
supercharge it.
Or supercharge it.
Yeah, nice Roots type supercharger sitting on top of the J.
Mm-hmm. They say one of the problems with the J and a supercharger is it actually interferes with the glass, the back glass. So probably somebody going to need, some industrious person is going to need to come up with some sort of different manifold to get that to all work and still sit underneath the glass.
Gotcha. Like you're saying the pulley is just up so high.
Yeah, exactly. The supercharger body itself, and if there's any plenum whatsoever,
yeah,
then of course it sets it up quite a bit. So.
Yeah. Heaven forbid you have like an aftercooler or something sandwiched in there too that pushes it up even higher.
That would be a bigger problem. Now, it would be interesting. It might be worthwhile to offset it forward and actually be able to put a cooler outside of the system. But that's going to be much more expensive, of course,
yeah, a lot of
than just slapping it on top of the head. Anyway, guys, please, his name is Claude.
Yep.
My name is Brian. And thank you for joining us on another episode of VTEC Academy. And I hope you guys got schooled. We'll see you next time.